Yaffa, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
You've been running around LinkedIn for a while.
I
Would
have
you
been
would
for
you say
quite
that's
some
a good
time.
articulated way of saying of talking about your activity?
100%. I think that's kind of the crux of what I do and how I started out my professional journey in general.
Tell me how you started.
Well,
You're a young one.
I'm a young one.
Yeah, just 1 month younger than I am.
I'm 1 month older than
Oh
you are.
no, I'm December. I'm the 5th of December. You're in
Oh,
January.
Nachon, you're right.
You're younger
I'm one
by
month
1 month.
younger.
Yeah.
28 years old, 28 years young. And basically, I'll just start telling you about my journey with LinkedIn and personal branding in general.
Go ahead.
I moved to Israel around 9 years ago.
From
Fresh
where?
from South Africa, South African. Fresh out of high school, really. I did a year in Midrasha, which is like Torah learning, and then moved here. And I quickly realized I was in a place where connections were really everything. And I had no connections. And I was studying philosophy and literature. And my parents were like, how are you going to get a job with that degree? And I thought, okay, I got to do something. Now, I love writing. That's my passion. And I've always been a writer. So I decided, okay, it's not going to be that easy for me. I don't know someone's cousin's brother's mother who's going to help me out in this country. I've got to start forging for myself a personal brand so people know me, so it's easier to connect. And I started documenting kind of my Aliyah process on a Times of Israel blog. I just opened up a blog one day and started writing.
Who didn't start on the Times of Israel blog?
Nachon, who didn't have.
It's like everyone
This is
starts
true.
on Times of Israel.
This is true. But mine were good. Some. And they got featured quite often.
Right.
Like on the front page. And that's kind of where I started realizing, getting people, reaching out to me and started realizing, okay, I'm onto something. I know how to write to move people. And total truth, that's how I actually landed my first real job out of university, from someone who had seen my blog post. And from there, I started, channeling that into LinkedIn and keeping up a LinkedIn presence, always slightly independent from what exactly I was doing, because I never wanted to limit myself to a specific company. Even though, I was fully invested in the company, I always understood that keeping up also an independent brand to some extent is a good thing for me.
Why is that? Is that some attachment issues? What's the Freudian philosophy around that?
I think for me it was a few reasons. Firstly, I do think at the end of the day, we all have to be our own best friends and our own biggest champion. There are some incredible companies out there, especially in Israel, that I've worked at. But at the end of the day, a job is a job, and you have to forge your own path and always look out for yourself. And I never wanted to fully have my identity in a job I was doing. I also at first worked in private intelligence, which was very discreet, and I couldn't exactly post about what I was doing. So there, by necessity, I had to do my own thing. And I think at the back of my mind, I always knew I wanted to do something for myself down the line.
So let me throw out some statistics, like not accurate statistics, but just the general notion of them. So when you look at the tech market across the board, you see that CMOs, for example, change roles every 2 years if they get to have those 2 years, right? And then you see a lot of in-house marketers or in-house sales development reps, et cetera, like change jobs on the go. So like building a brand, for yourself is probably the most important thing you need to do, because let's be honest and brutal, and a bit sarcastic and a bit cynical, the employers don't give a shit.
Everything.
Yeah, the employers don't completely give a whole shit about you. I mean, some employers do care about you. You do forge relationships
Right.
that you would take throughout your journey, but in that specific role, that specific point in time, that's the right, you have to always think about how you brand yourself personally.
100%. And I think even regardless of that, having a strong personal brand, it's almost like it's a warm intro.
Right.
So at the end of the day, especially now in the market where there are so many people looking for jobs, coming into that interview and your interviewer having heard of your name, seen your name. I actually recently had a meeting with a potential client, and he didn't remember, but he reposted one of my LinkedIn posts 3 years ago. And
How couldn't he remember such
he
a
didn't
post?
remember, but I remembered, and I said to him, as we started, I said, you actually reposted my LinkedIn post. And he said, stop. I was speaking about that last week. I love that post. And it's almost like it sticks. You're immediately stuck out from the crowd if you kind of have that personal brand. So I think even if your employees love you and care for you, it gives you that confidence and that warm intro, which is so necessary in a competitive job market like today.
So that guy, would you say him reposting your post contributed to eventually him maybe being a client later on?
It wouldn't directly contribute because he didn't remember. He actually got to me through
But
another
when you
client.
remember, when you did tell him that, hey, look, you did repost, so it's kind of like a one-word thing. Yeah, I had some sort of interaction with this lady.
100%.
So when you do what your company does right now, you guys do thought leadership and branding, especially to the VC market, right? Investor. You've worked in a VC, right? Remind me which VC that was?
Yes, I worked for just over 2.5 years at F2 Venture Capital,
right,
which is an early stage fund in Israel.
I remember.
No. Yeah, and that was an amazing experience because I never knew what VC was.
Do they know? I'm kidding.
they knew.
Not them specifically.
So I got there really like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, no clue what VC was, but I think they saw in me this willingness to learn and my writing chops, and I saw in them just a great VC, a great fund.
They are a great fund.
They're amazing. I love them to this day. And that's where I figured a few things out about why I wanted to work in this industry. And why what I do is so specifically geared towards VC.
So other than the industry being very good in terms of payments and in terms of the financial aspects, what other things you've learned that are a bonus to stick in this industry compared to other ones?
So firstly, it's actually, that wasn't the driving factor. What I realized when I was working there was a few things. Firstly, I understood that a VC is a very interesting animal. It's not a company. It's very different to a company. You're not selling a product. You're selling a relationship. You're selling a relationship with the partners of the fund. It's a long-term investment. And people don't create relationships with logos. They create relationships with people. Unless you're a Sequoia, it's one of the huge brands with tons of exits under your back. It's kind of counterintuitive to really put in the brand, but it really makes sense to work on the person behind the fund. And let's be honest, in VC, especially in an early stage sector agnostic fund, of which there are so many, it's very hard to have a differentiator, an authentic differentiator. At the end of the day, most of them are giving capital for, a stake in the company, and creating leaning on your personal brand. All these partners, they are ex-entrepreneurs, they're amazing operators, they have so much to give. Really anchoring a VC's brand in a partner's brand, creating that relationship I found the best way to differentiate your brand authentically.
So in what kind of mediums would you suggest doing that? Obviously, you've got LinkedIn. So would you say, such a rhetorical question, but LinkedIn is like the mecca of B2B tech, right? Like if you're not on LinkedIn, if you don't have a strong personal brand on LinkedIn, if you're not providing value on LinkedIn, and it doesn't even have to be that you're only posting, it could be commenting, it could be sharing other people's content, it could be signing up for newsletters, etc. I don't think you have a place in tech, at least maybe VCs that have built a career and they're 20 years in, 30 years in. They already have that going on for them without LinkedIn because they have those connections. But I think the new guys, like the new guns who are coming in, I think LinkedIn should be an essential part of the strategy. And if they don't touch LinkedIn, they're not going to be as competitive as people who do. Would you say that is factual, correct?
100%. I definitely think that LinkedIn is like the central membrane of all of this. However, while LinkedIn is always a huge part of my strategy, I also really believe that in all marketing and all branding, what's the most important thing? It's understanding your audience. If you don't understand your audience, it doesn't really matter what you're putting out. It's not going to be effective. The VC audience, well, they have two audiences. Their primary audience is obviously founders. Secondary, I would say, are LPs. Both those audiences are incredibly intelligent. They don't, they're not going to care about any fluff. So it's very important that while LinkedIn could be the primary, I'm very pro the idea that you also need some long form really deep pieces, whether that's on a blog that you own or whether that's on an organic op-ed on whatever is relevant. I'm not a big proponent in the PR as PR is. Like, I don't believe that that's the right method for a VC. I believe in organic PR, so earned media. So while LinkedIn is, where you're going to distribute that and where you can...
But with us, they can work, right?
We've discussed this before. You're different to a regular PR. I think the way you do
modern PR,
the way you do it is exactly what I'm saying. It's like authentic. It's earned. You're like, it has much more depth. Than
I like to think so.
Then like a paid, you could see paid partnership. It's when your audience are founders, the top of the crops in terms
you're like
of
150 IQ, like 160
I mean,
IQ,
you can't bullshit them. So
I mean, you can, but you're not gonna get away with that.
No, you're not gonna get it. Not long term.
Not long term, yes.
So I think LinkedIn is like the best distribution and also the best consistent. But I'm a big proponent of long form content, be that a newsletter, a blog, an op-ed, etc.
What newsletter platforms would you recommend?
So Medium is a bit old now.
Right.
Substack is still great. I actually launched with one of my amazing clients recently a newsletter that took off on something he actually introduced me to called Beehive.
I heard about that,
which is really fun to use, really great with in terms of like the stats, and I'm having a lot of fun with that. So Beehive is also...
Beehive is good.
Yeah.
So you know what I like about your content that you do, obviously, like, I don't know what type of content you do to your clients, because I think that's kind of the point, that I don't associate you to those clients, and that I don't associate a specific thought leadership post from one specific VC to another, right? Because they have different personalities, and if you're a good ghostwriter, which I believe you probably are without me kind of vetting it, because I can't, because that's the whole point. And maybe because I can't vet it, it actually means you're a good one, right? So it's like this paradoxical kind of game of motions. But what I'm trying to say is that if you... when I see your post that you write for yourself, they're very, very, like, every word leads to the next and every sentence leads to the next. And then I just finish reading it without even intending to spend time on it. So how do you do that?
Firstly, thank you. That I really appreciate that. I think, firstly, like you so correctly said, it's one of the challenges in working with what I work is that there's so much discretion involved. I'm a ghost, and that's
a ghost.
Job. I'm a ghost.
Okay.
Don't even try.
Okay, I'm sorry. I tried touching you before. I mean, in a polite manner.
So it's very challenging, because it's hard to show my work to people, and that's also why, especially now, my posting on LinkedIn is so important. So people can see proof in the pudding. You enjoy my writing. That's already a great testimony of the value I can bring. Obviously, like you also correctly said, it's getting into the minds and brains and psyches of my clients. So I write like them and not like me. But truthfully, writing is my passion. It's been my passion since I was like 5 and could hold a pen, reading, writing. I love it. I was writing poems to my mom.
Dear Diary.
Yes.
Max was very mad at me today.
Way more poetic than that. But
okay, yeah.
Maybe a Max was involved. But that's really, like, I understood. I feel very lucky and grateful that I have that, natural talent, that I think, writing, you can learn writing. You can always improve. But for me, it was something I was born with.
I mean, you can learn it, but I think, like, good writers, like, I immediately know who's a natural born writer and who's, like, working on becoming good writer. It's like the easiest skill to kind of understand who has, like, sufficient ingrained inborn talent and who doesn't. And you definitely do have, from my senses and my examinations.
By the way, so do you, actually.
If you say so,
Which I realized in the last post that you wrote. I really sensed that.
I just write with, like, self-stream consciousness. I try not to think about what I write. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not a good thing, but that's the way it is. I do want to ask you, before I ask you this question, because I'm going to forget the last question, the previous question, is that it's very difficult to write for other people. It's like, it can easily become a shit show. You know why? Because writing is subjective. And then when you write something and it could be really good, and the guy you're writing for, right, as a ghost, he can say, listen, but this is not how I would write it. And then you kind of need to tailor it to them. And then there's, like, editing involved. And when you do that for several clients at the same time, it can be quite difficult, I imagine. I mean, I know because like our company, we had like a thought leadership segment that we tried running for a while. We still have, I think, 2 or 3 clients who we do that for, but it was not something we wanted to put a focus on because it was very difficult and lots of back and forth and editing and those kind of stuff.
It is very difficult, 100%. Firstly, it takes this business, it's a business of trust, you know, so it's not like I'm going to start working with a client and then start producing content the next week. I'm very upfront that it's a process of learning. Firstly, there's a ton of research involved. If I start with a client, I've read everything they've ever written, pretty much. You know, I'm really investing in understanding how they're writing, and even if they're not, the writing isn't great, I'm understanding how they're thinking. I'm watching every video that they've I'm doing tons of research, and then when I start with them, it's a long process. I brainstorm with them for hours. I don't only talk to them, I'll talk to their stakeholders.
Really?
If I'm working at a fund for a partner, I'll speak to him, I'll speak to his other partner, I'll speak to a founder, I'll speak to a founder that he didn't sign with. I'll understand his perception of himself, the gaps in perception. So it's a process. And then once we start writing, of course, and I'm always very open about this, the first couple times, it's going to be a back and forth. I don't mind. That's exactly how it's going to be. You're going to say, I say to my clients, tell me you hate this. Tell me this is totally not what you like. That's how I learn.
Very brave.
I love that feedback. That's kind of, you know, I'm really into straight, harsh feedback. I don't take it personally. This is the work.
How do you not take it personally? It's difficult not to take things personally.
You know,
I mean,
practice. It's honestly like.
Would you say you're thick-skinned?
I'm, in some aspects, yes, and in some aspects, no. But I've put in work to be thick-skinned about my craft, and I think the reason is because I've seen most of the time, we get to the right place. You know, it's a month or so of this uncomfortability back and forth, which I'll tell them up front, this is going to be how it's going to look. And then once you crack it, it gets much easier. There'll always be editing, and I'm not afraid of that. I'm not saying, you know, I don't work in the way you get one edit. I'm working with people's brands. I'm working with partners, you know, their reputation. They have to be 100% comfortable. I can work on a piece with a partner for a long time, and at the end, they're saying, something not right. There's no questions asked. This is a personal brand. It has to be authentic.
Even if it's only like one LinkedIn post?
Yeah.
But like, so...
And by the way, last thing, you said you tried it with your company. I don't know if this business model works to scale, right? People are always saying to me, when are you going to hire? Because I'm at capacity, and I'm not sure that I want to.
Okay. I have a friend who does also like this guy, I forgot his name. What's his name? Jonathan?
Brave?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's great.
Sorry that I forgot your name.
You're great though.
But you're close to my heart, my friend. It's just been a very busy day and lots of things are on my mind, but I do know who you are, and I do refer clients to you. So.
And we went for a coffee, and he's really tremendous.
He's tremendous, and I told him, bro, like, how do you scale this shit? You know, and like he was saying, like it's a very difficult way to scale it, and we actually shared some clients that we did PR for, and he did thought leadership for. And he was having a much more difficult time with those clients, not because the work done, he's a fabulous guy and they're all very happy with him, but just because those back and forth stuff. And let me say another thing. How uncomfortable is the first months with a new client, right? When you're both testing the waters and, you know, you're saying things and he doesn't understand your non-political correctness style yet, mine specifically. And I don't understand his kind of harsh tone and text. And he's actually a friendly guy once we get on a call. And those like first 2 or 3 months, you're kind of like wanting to kind of shoot each other, but you kind of don't. But then on month number 4, you can't see yourself without them again, right?
It truly is a relationship.
It's a relationship, and then you know you just pray that they don't leave you and they don't want to, and then
or you hope that they do. Stop.
Listen, if I get to that point, I might as well fire the client. I think, you know, I'm very capitalistic, but at least you know.
I love all my clients, truly.
Really, truly.
Honestly.
I'm not sure that is correct, Yaffa.
I have been super picky about who I work with.
So you have the luxury of doing so. That's beautiful.
Thank God, thank God, thank God. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem. So you are religious.
Listen, I still am religious in my core. And habits, they don't really die. But I think the world of VC, just going back to, the uncomfortability, I think the fact that I spent a long time in the VC ecosystem, it allows you to really understand the language of VCs, which is why also...
What is the language?
It's a lot of nuances, whether it's the audience of founders, whether it's dealing with LPs, whether it's the sensitivities, the various sensitivities, whether it's the industry specifics, whatever it is, there's a lot of very VC specific jargon, ideas, beliefs, and...
I've met VCs who know shit.
Who don't know shit. And I've met VCs who know the whole world and are very close to being a philosopher / PhD / master of their crafts. But I have seen VCs who don't know shit. But what I'm trying to say with this comment is that I don't think the language is strictly exclusive to all of those VCs. Like, I do see lots of, I would say, different types of IQ associated with lots of those VCs. Like, I would see VCs who can lit the room with their knowledge, research, understanding, flexibility, emotional intelligence as well. And I see other VCs who I don't understand how they raise money from an LP. So how do you see it? Well,
with saying the truth,
firstly, I've been blessed.
Yes, everyone who touches you is beautiful and charming.
No,
that Yaffa is a skill. Can you teach me how I can kind of work on that skill as well? Where everything I touch and every person who is next to me is simply wonderful, beautiful, and gorgeous.
Well, no, it's not like that. At the end of the day, what my work is to bring the ideas of people into life, in a beautiful way. So by definition, I can't work with VCs who have no ideas, because then what am I going to write about, right? So I think it's very clear from very early on, even before I'm signing, from our conversations, that we both need to understand that I'm not coming... Obviously, I'm triggering ideas through our conversations. This is, where we get the ideas, but they are the people that have the wealth of knowledge. They have to be, or what I do doesn't work. So I'm very intentional about who I'm working with, and the beauty of working independently is that you're able to work with the people you want to work with.
You've been working with entrepreneurs, with VCs and with entrepreneurs, and you're closely associated with entrepreneurs just by acquaintance and by working with them. And you worked at Monday. You worked at Monday for startups? Was that the thing?
No, I actually worked in the office of the CEOs.
Oh, right.
But I was actually startups. I have to give a shout out. Lior Krengel for that founded Startups for Startups was a huge mentor for me and helped me getting the confidence to do my own thing. But yeah, I worked at Monday and loved it. Loved the people, but loved the people, loved the product, realized I'm an independent girl and I needed to start my own thing.
Right. And so would you say there's a difference between being associated or working closely next to entrepreneurs compared to venture capitalists? Would you say that the ingrained assumption is that both of them have different characters in the end of the day, or different philosophies, or different ways of thinking?
So I've worked very closely with both, especially because at F2 they have the Junction, which is almost like an incubator within the VC. So I would be helping them out too. So it was on this side was the entrepreneurs and this side was the investors. I think it depends, because a lot of times, you get the entrepreneur turns investor where there's still that kind of fun craziness.
Those are usually the best, right?
Love those.
But the biggest Israeli VC is Oren Zev, who is a full-time investor, never been an entrepreneur. I mean,
so it depends. So I'm saying but you get that kind of characteristic on both ends. But at the end of the day, yeah, it is different. The one is, and I'll say this, and I'll always say this: the VCs is nothing without entrepreneurs. Nothing. The VC's main audience, their shining light, and everything that they do should revolve around their entrepreneurs.
They're also nothing without their LPs, though, as well.
They're also nothing without their LPs.
No, they're literally nothing without their LPs.
They're literally nothing. But at the end of the day, it's the founders that matter the most, and the LPs would agree times 10 with that, because they need great founders. They need you to, do something with their money. So, and I think that that's a power dynamic that's shifted over the last 5-10 years, is that I think there was a power dynamic where the VCs were like, held all the power, and I think that has and is shifting.
But now they got the power again.
They got the power, yeah.
Because it depends on the market.
100%.
It's
100%.
supply and demand.
Supply and demand. But I think just even in principle and foundationally, that has somewhat shifted. At least that's what I feel from my work.
So I would say something that I would conceive as the objective truth, and I would really want to understand if your opinion is the same. And if your opinion is not the same, don't be afraid to shine your opinion through the darkness of my opinion.
Hit me.
I say, and I say this to everyone, not behind their backs, but in front of their faces. I say that I feel like VC is the most Pareto principle typed industry there is. So basically 20% of the VCs, every LP wants to invest in their funds. Every institutional immediately or almost immediately says yes to their proposition and invests in their fund. And on the other side of that marketplace, every entrepreneur wants to be associated with that fund. And then the 80% of other VCs, they're just hustling both to raise the money from the LPs who don't trust them enough because they don't have the relative results to showcase because they're all relatively new or because they have failed before. And the entrepreneurs know that they're not necessarily the VCs that will provide value to them and help take them to the next level. So my question to you is, first, do you agree with that notion? Second, what do you do if you're in the 80% and you want to scramble through and get into that 20% and enjoy all the fruits to those wonderful labors of yours?
You hire me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've got a marketer.
Stam.
Why Stam?
Well, yes, that is the be all and end all. But I mean, I don't think you can argue that fact. Obviously, the best with the track record in this business is going to attract the LPs and the founders. And that's exactly what I was saying in the beginning, is that you have to get creative as a VC with how you are attracting both LPs, especially, I mean, in this economic environment in Israel, where, people are not really wanting to invest here. So you got to hustle. You have to understand how can I attract LPs? How can I attract founders? And one very creative way that our farm works that does it is, leaning on that personal brand.
How does the word infected you personally and professionally, but mostly personally?
Well, my business actually officially opened around 3 days after the war started.
Literally.
When my husband was gone in Miluim and I was removed from our apartment because we had no bomb shelter and no staircase. Florentine.
You lived in where? No staircase?
The staircase was on the window, so it's like an open staircase.
Interesting.
So I was like,
I thought maybe you were just floating in a floating apartment somewhere with no like shelter and with no staircase.
No, but I really was. I felt homeless. I felt husbandless. I felt very vulnerable, as the entire nation felt. And that's when my accountant called me and he's like, your business is open.
Open for business, yo.
So it was definitely hard. And I actually decided not to press on with the business at that point. Instead, I actually started an amazing initiative with Michael Matthias, who is an entrepreneur.
Oh, very smart, intelligent individual.
So he approached me to start this C-Tech series on C-Tech, Startup United Nations.
You've been, right, I've seen that.
Yeah, and we wrote pretty much an article a day. I wrote he did these
an article a day keeps the doctor away,
Well, keeps the insanity away at that time.
Yeah, I meant the psychiatrist away.
So I kind of really put myself into, writing about how the tech community and the VC community was helping out with the war and collecting money for, the Miluimnikim, and that was kind of what I did. And then as things kind of settled down, I started slowly with the business, and I've honestly, my clients are very sensitive, both those ones in Israel and those ones abroad, because I do have US clients as well.
I want to use this to say how strong we are as a nation. In the Uberman Nietzsche, Uberwoman Nietzsche kind of sense, like, how strong are we? Like, this nation of, like, continuing to produce amazing results, produce amazing content, produce amazing products, amazing services, and deliver them in such an incredible rate and fast-paced rate compared to a lot of different other very capitalist as well countries. And we are able to do that while fighting literally with all our neighbors at the same time, and having some internal fights in the country itself, and having some population in our own country that is against us. This is crazy.
It gives me chills.
This is crazy. This is strong. This is true strength. This is true bravery. This is the truth of the Israeli Jewish community, and also the Israeli Christian community. And I think that is big, and we should appreciate that, and we should be grateful we're a part of this community.
I couldn't agree more. I'm like one of those people that made Aliyah 9 years ago, but I'm still like in my honeymoon phase.
Still.
Listen,
it's a long honeymoon,
it's
darling.
a long honeymoon, and there's been the challenges, but I couldn't agree more with what you're saying. It's an incredible, incredible country. The DNA of resilience that we have as a nation, which is, you know, the same trait that every founder needs the most,
right?
Is really a very special. I feel very privileged to live here.
So you studied philosophy and literature, right? What's your philosophy? Who kind of impacted the way you view things? Who are your favorite philosophers? And who would you say have like impacted the way you actually live and not just theoretically live?
So firstly, the one thing I learned when learning philosophy, and it's similar to the feeling I had when I was religious and studying Gemara, is that when you learn it for 3 years, you understand you know nothing. Like,
it's about the practical.
It's insane how stupid you feel. You feel way more stupid after delving into 3 years of philosophy or 3 years of Gemara learning or whatever it is, because you realize the vastness of the information that you can possibly intake, and how you're just like this on the precipice. So I feel like I need to do a master's, a doctorate, and one of my dreams is actually to do, you know, a PhD in philosophy down the line. And then I can tell you. But right now, I honestly feel like
there's no philosopher that has impacted you. You're 20
Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand, great. Another one? No? I mean, Ayn Rand impacted me tremendously as well.
Ayn Rand impacted me tremendously. And I told you, Howard Rourke is like...
Howard Rourke is the favorite character that I've ever read in every single thing, whatever, right? And
Howard Rourke laughed, you know, those first 3 words of that book is just like chills.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Howard Rourke is, I would say, the biggest inspiration in literature for people who are in business, in my opinion. Some people are kind of against Ayn Rand's philosophy. I'm definitely for it. I do think you need to add several more context to it.
It has its flaws. It's a bit extreme, but I understand what she's trying to get across.
Right. Who do you think is the real life Howard Rourke? I mean, like, is there people out there that you look at and you think, wow, they're really capturing that spirit in their day-to-day life? I would personally say there are some people who come to mind. I would say Elon Musk is definitely in Howard Rourke. I would say Donald Trump is in Howard Rourke in a sense. And Travis Kalanick, the founder of Uber, founder of Uber. I would also say Adam Neumann is kind of like that. I would say, who else?
It's like all the divisive characters.
Yes, because like
that's what it is.
That's what it is. Yeah. It's basically like reasoning yourself to yourself.
Yeah.
So it's basically being a first-hander, not a second-hander. What does that mean? First-hander is someone who does things first for himself and then cares about what the audience or the community thinks about that. A second-hander is someone who does everything just so he can get the claps from the audience. Yep. And I think it makes you very weak to basically only want to do things for the audience. You do need the audience eventually, but I do believe if you're very strong in your attention and your reasoning and you do think for yourself, it shines through, and people see that it shines through, and they reward you for that, I would say.
100%. And I think even more than it makes you weak, I think it makes you unhappy. You know, I think I mean, if you're for everyone else, it's very hard to build up yourself, and I don't think those people are happy people.
What do you think about Nietzsche?
EJ's great. Good friend.
Yeah, you guys go to
We
lunch,
go way back.
right? You guys go to lunch. Interesting.
Yeah. But I will just say, my
Yeah.
Howard Rourke, and this is going to sound like maybe not the most professional, but honestly, my husband,
Really?
I see he just really does not care what people think about
Does
him.
not give a fuck?
In the most pure sense of the word. Not in like, I don't care what people think, just in a very natural, organic way. And, you know, I've always kind of seen him as a Howard Rourke character in my life, which is special.
Is your husband from South Africa as well?
He's from New York.
He's American.
He's American.
Did he read The Fountainhead?
I forced him to. What do you mean? Of course he read
And
The
did
Fountainhead.
he feel-
loves The Fountainhead.
Yes?
Very much.
You know, when people read The Fountainhead, everyone who reads it thinks he's Howard. No one thinks he's Peter. You know? It's like,
100%.
and like, statistically, there needs to be some Peters out there,
100%.
you know?
I don't
But
think
I
I'm
hope that I'm
Howard.
the Howard, you know?
I don't think I'm the Howard. I think
Yeah.
I want to be him, but I think it's an aspiration.
Right. There's also another, there's Howard, there's Peter, and then there's another guy.
Oy, what's his name?
There's Toy Story,
He gives me the...
yeah, the creeps. But then there's another guy, Gail.
Yeah, Gail.
What do you think his philosophy is? Because he's like Howard, but he does have, like, he is like Howard, but he basically has like another aspect of him that he does do certain things for.
Yeah, he's like seeing it for what it is and deciding to really like use and abuse that system. Which, and I think he hates himself too, right? So instead of living his authentic self, knowing that the snakes are gonna bite,
Right.
he plays with it and sells his soul.
He makes a lot of right.
And look
but
who won in the end. Who got the girl?
Howard.
Howard got the girl.
Yeah, Howard got the girl, but Howard actually, you know, wow. You know, I would never forget the sentence when Howard told, what's her name again? Dominic Falcon,
Very nice.
right? So Howard went to Dominic Falcon and he told her, listen, he basically told her that he's willing to die for her, but he's not willing to live for her. And then there's another strong quote when he goes to that journalist, Tuhi, whatever the fuck's...
I'll sweat too.
Yeah, exactly. He goes to him, and Tuhi comes to him after he ruined his project, and he tells him, come on, Howard, come on, tell me what you think about me. And then Howard looks at him and says, but I don't think about you. And just-
Power.
Come on.
Power. You make okay.
Come on.
Okay, I know what I'm doing tonight. I gotta go home and reread this book for the 75th time.
Right.
It's good stuff.
How do you manage your day? I mean, you did have like a beautiful LinkedIn post of like you wake up at 7 a.m. and just like run along and stuff. But like, how does it look like for you? You live in Tel Aviv now, right?
I've lived in Tel Aviv for a long time. I love it. Firstly, I start off every single day going to the gym. It's like my way of focusing myself.
What do you do in the gym?
Weights.
Really?
Just weights, that's all.
Cool. Like light weights or
No.
heavy weights? Really? Nice.
Heavy weights. I feel, it's important for me to feel strong physically and mentally. And honestly, I'm an anxiety sufferer of the nth degree. So it really gets my mental health in check from the get-go. And then I'm insane with my Google Calendar. Everything goes into my day. I'm scheduling like when I'm going for coffee, when I'm doing this, when I'm going...
Every single thing?
Pretty much every
Like
single
shower?
thing. Showering, no. Maybe I should start. But besides for that, up until like 6, 7, 8 when I'm finished working, it's all going in the calendar. My work time, my focus time, my dog walks, my gym. And that really, it's not like I stick to it like insanely, but it gives me, as an independent worker, it gives me a really good framework. I don't need, some crazy tools. I'm very lean. I'm a one-person business. So I find that, between Google Calendar, some Notion, which I love, I make sure that I always set aside time to actually do the work. Try not to get overwhelmed with, the bureaucratic things or the emails. So I'm just really intentional about setting my week from the beginning. Saturday night, Sunday, I'm scheduling as much as I can already on my calendar for that week.
How did the Saturday nights turn into? Because I know that that was a very long time ago, but believe it or not, I used to be an employee long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But I remember the Saturday nights as an employee was very difficult. It was like, I can't believe I'm starting this week. And now Saturday night, I'm already working. I'm already hustling and grinding. So How is it for you? Like, do you see the difference between those two episodes of your life?
I see such a drastic difference in so many ways. I'll tell you that I'm not working on Saturday nights. For me, it's very important that I have my weekends. I feel like I work really hard during the week. I'm fully
Right.
committed. Those weekends, I need them.
What do you do in the weekends?
I party.
Really?
Some. I love to go
Not
out.
stop. Like, why do you say stam all the time? If it's the truth, remain
Well,
convicted to the truth.
Sometimes I party. Sometimes I relax. Sometimes I go visit family.
Right.
Sometimes I just need to, sit in front of the
Well,
TV.
Can you invite me to some of those parties?
Yes,
Cool.
for sure. So it really depends, but it's very important for me to have that time. I will say I still get anxiety at the beginning of a week just because I have anxiety and, I'm very...
Do you have like actual
I
anxiety?
have actual anxiety. When I perform, I take my clients and what I deliver to them very seriously. But with that anxiety comes a lot of excitement. I love what I do. I'm really excited about my clients. I really love them. I'm doing interesting work. So there's anxiety, but there's not dread.
There's not dread. Okay, so it's positive anxiety
Positive
in a sense
anxiety.
where you channel it.
Yeah.
What other things do you do for anxiety? Do you meditate? I mean, exercise really helps.
It's huge.
Exercise really, really helps. I think that, as our team, this is not the easiest time in the market right now. First, there's been a big market crash in the publicly traded stock market. And I don't know if you know, but we're also investors. Like our company, we also invest. So we don't only do
saw
PR.
that.
We don't only do PR, we do investments. In the last 2-3 weeks, we're kind of brutal in that aspect. The market crashed in one day and then got back up again. And, internally, when we talked to my team, in the first day, we were like, yeah, we're fucking strong. Everything is going well. And everyone was like playing this poker face game. And then a day after, everyone is like, dude, this took a toll on me.
Yeah.
Like, dude, this has been a difficult 2 days.
Yeah.
And since we talked about those difficult days, everyone's life just got better, happier, more focused. We're like, listen, guys, it was a tough week. The stock market played a trick on us, but we're back at it again. It's fine to kind of have these emotions compared to those things, especially to things that you don't have control over. And entrepreneurs and investors, like, I think 60-70% of what we do, we don't have direct control over. Like, we have control over our inputs, but not necessarily on those outputs, right? On those outcomes. And I think being able to be upfront about it and have your personal philosophy to deal with it. I'm personally, I'm not religious, but I am very religion leaning. Like, I do tefillin, and I'm very close. I am a huge believer in Judaism and to higher power. And I do have also other philosophies that really help me, Ayn Rand and Nietzsche. Some of Nietzsche's work has really influenced me. Jordan Peterson has heavily influenced the way I think and operate, which in Jordan Peterson's case, the operation is more important than than the thinking. And I feel like everyone, if we gain that knowledge, and it's not only knowledge, it's practice knowledge, I think anxiety would subside and greatness would uprise. And, I think we should all be optimistic,
Yeah, I think I really appreciate that you're also open about it. I feel like I've always made it an intentional effort to be open and upfront about, that I have anxiety, that I'm on medication, that I'm struggling, whatever it is, because just giving that space, like you said you did with your company, giving that space to like talk about these things is a tremendous reliever of the anxiety, and just feeling not alone, that's huge. I think also having these practices, implementing practices in your life is super important, whether that's working out. I'm big on gratefulness. I really try to set aside time to actively practice being grateful for what I have, and that helps kind of realign my mind. But it's a continuous struggle. I should really meditate, and I just haven't put in the effort that I should be. So there's always more you can do.
Do you feel like you're eventually going to scale and build a team?
It's a great question.
And what's your answer?
I'll tell you my answer. To be 100% honest with you, I don't have the desire to manage people, number one.
You don't like the concept?
I don't like managing people. Even more than that.
You don't manage your husband?
No. Equal partnership.
Wow.
We manage each other in the ways that we need to at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But I've never desired to manage someone. I love what I do. I love to write. I love to connect. I love to do what I do. And I don't necessarily think it translates what I do scale wise. It's very personal. It's very discreet. It takes a lot of work. I do want to scale in other ways. You know, I'm always thinking about how can I scale, you know, whether that's going more into consulting so I can have more time, whether that's starting angel investing on my own, whatever that looks like, whether it's a newsletter. I'm looking for creative ways to scale because I recognize that I personally don't think I'm aligned with creating an agency.
Agency is very tough, man.
Very tough. Service industry
very tough.
agencies, oof.
Yes.
I take my hat off to you.
I mean, it's tough, but I immediately, after I think 2 or 3 months after the opening of the agency, I knew that it's more than an agency. That's why we got into investing and buying media assets and so forth.
Right.
Because if you're only a service provider, man, they're gonna fuck you up, and you're gonna fuck you up real nicely.
It's vulnerable.
It's very vulnerable, and it's like they own you because like that's the only thing that you do. And you know, when we work with new clients that come in, we tell them, listen guys, we're not your traditional agency. We don't do the whole bullshit politically correct kind of game and all that stuff. We have our playbooks. We work with you. We want you to get better, and we want to be partners. And at first most people now are not skeptical at all because we thankfully have the results with working with massive brands where you can just click on our website, go to case study, see the case studies. It's all transparent.
Right.
There's all the numbers there. So every, like 90% of our clients, all of our clients, when they after we pass like 50 articles with them, they get a case study.
Okay.
It's on their it's on our website.
Amazing.
You look at the numbers, there's the exact numbers, the exact measurements, the exact everything. So it's all transparent. Like, so, you know, prospects come up to me and they say, listen, Omri, can we get a referral? I'm like, yeah, sure, talk to whoever you want. Here are the numbers, but there's a great case study case study section on our website that we've spent lots of time creating in order to be very transparent, because I believe transparency really helps. And I do feel like there's a lot of other agencies that basically suck, but they're not transparent, but they're very politically correct.
Yeah.
So what do? They're very politically correct, so they never truly piss off the client. But the results suck, and the client ends up leaving them. And then they come and work with us, and we're not the most politically correct because we want to tell the truth. That's one of our things, is to tell the truth and play offense and like tell the client the truth so we can be better and the client would succeed. And sometimes there's some adjustment to that on both sides. But then after we start dating and we're a month number 4 and number 5, we're already talking about marriage. You know?
Love it. It's it's honest, and I think
it's an open relationship type marriage because we get to work with other brands at the same time, which I love.
There you go.
Yes.
But I think that there's something there also about the kind of generation we're in. People aren't really wanting this vanilla. You know, they're wanting someone to be honest.
You think so?
I do. I think.
I hope so.
I do think so. I think that that's where we're at. So I think that you're kind of talking to the right audience right now with the approach that you have.
I hope so. I mean, I'm sure there's a percentage out there that's like, Hurwitz seems like a very high Q individual, but like he seems like a pain in the ass, and that's fine. You know, I mean, I'm sure there is some percentage of people who do think that.
You don't want to work with everyone.
I do specifically. Just because this hunger of capitalism in my blood,
In your veins.
in my veins, it's just like I've standed with clients who I told them in their face that I don't respect them as individuals, but I do respect them as professionals. And they, you know what they told me? They told me, you know what, Omri? We even respect you even more now because of that, because of this brutal honesty, right? But in the end of the day, I see business as results. If we don't provide value, and if business is someone providing value to someone, if there's no value, then there's no business, no matter how nice and gentle you are, you know. And there are clients that I'm telling you, I love them. There are clients who are friends of mine. We go to, so this is the thing. The vanilla people, imagine like vanilla people walking on the street, so like the vanilla people, okay, they might not piss people off, but they're not also going to have like really, really good close friends. We have clients where like I literally go to dinner with them in Tel Aviv. We go on the boardwalk. We party together. I'm invited to like their personal thing. I know their daughters and sisters and cousins, and they want to like matchmake me with their sister and like, you know, those kind of stuff, right? So it's like there is a benefit of.
I think you're touching on something that's kind of, you know, not being vanilla, being honest and authentic is also being vulnerable because you're putting
Right.
yourself out there. And just bringing this back to branding as well. I'm telling my clients all the time, you've got to be, don't always be vulnerable, but you have to be a little bit, you have to be honest, you have to be vulnerable. You have to also be able to write things that you believe and get personal, because that's when people make the emotional connection with you.
Right.
That's why you're walking on the beach with your clients. And that's why when we write a post that's vulnerable and that's real and honest, that's when you're actually going to create that emotional connection with your audience that is so necessary today.
I think you should write a book, Yaffa. Maybe you should do that. When
Would you read it?
Yes, I would buy it.
Sababa.
I would buy 10 copies,
Sababa.
maybe 15
Okay.
if you're nice. And then I'll spread them out through people and let it kind of go viral.
I've always wanted to write a book. I've even started to, but they've always kind of gotten me depressed. I get too into it, and then it's just like nothing else matters.
What about AI? Like, do you feel your job is at stake at some point? Do you feel like, how do you look at that? And I just want to say something because I want to get a clip out of it and post it on LinkedIn. Okay? I believe, they would say content is king.
Uh-huh.
I think distribution is going to be king. And you know how they say content creators? I think the next phase of this is content distributors, because AI is going to help everyone create content at scale, but it's all about distribution. Doesn't matter if you're fabulous at creating content if you only showcase it to 5 or 6 people. So,
and the more noise, it's gonna be noisy out there, right? Because with so
wow,
much
it's
content,
already very noisy.
with so much content, I think the way to distribute it so you get the most eyeballs is for sure going to be tremendously important. I'll tell you, my relationship with AI, we're best friends.
You were dating?
We're dating.
Cool.
Quite seriously. I
Wow.
use AI. I mean, I have my favorite AI tools. I use it very intentionally. Like, I have all my prompts. I've invested a lot of time in how I use it. I see it as like a really great kind
Sidekick.
of sidekick.
The Robin to your Batman.
The Robin to my Batman. I will tell you, I can scroll through LinkedIn and spot a ChatGPT written comment
shit.
or LinkedIn
Who doesn't?
like that, and everyone can. So I also think that inevitably, AI will be writing most of the content down the line. Just like today, everyone's wearing these like modern watches. They're always going to be the handmade watchmakers
Right.
that you're going to go and spend that premium price on because you want that handmade watch. And I'm hoping to be that premium watchmaker.
But would the handmade writing would it be better objectively than the AI?
It'll be unique in some respect. I don't know if it'll be better.
Will AI have a soul? I think that's the question, because I tell you why. You're a great writer, and people tell me I'm not a bad writer. Because I think there's lots of soul that goes into this stream of prose, of consciousness, of basically writing from a place of pain and beauty and wonderfulness and amazingness and sadness and curiosity and understanding and questions with answers. And all this place is true to the spirit, to the soul, to the love of life. And AI, with all its intelligence and wonderfully crafted, tailored messages that are spitted in the speed of lightning of a Usain Bolt, does not have the same soul. So I would argue that unless you fucker AI get a soul, you're no match for me.
I love that argument. I've got to say, I think it's beautiful that we write from our souls. I have no doubt that AI will be able
Soulful.
to create,
Wow.
not that it will have a soul, but it will create
The
life
illusion
as
of a
if
soul.
it has a soul.
That's scary.
It's true. I mean, you even just look at the paintings that AI comes up with. They are you feel things, and it's a scary fact that we're gonna all have to figure out in the creative space. I'm not afraid of it. I'm embracing it. We're gonna figure it out.
Let's win.
And that's that.
Let's win with AI.
Yeah.
So like the AI videos, you saw the new ones with like Donald
Oh
Trump
my
kissing
God, with
Kamala
Grok,
Harris.
what's all Grok?
No, that's the AI videos. It's with
Elon Musk's new.
No, it's OpenAI's SAS something with an S. SAS Sama whatever. It's like their new video platform, Sora.
Sora. Okay.
Yeah, so it's Sora, and basically it looks so fucking real and poetic, and it even looks poetic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, video creators are gonna have a difficult time, like in terms of that, and also like you see this AI avatars of people, and that's getting kind of scary as well.
It's
And
crazy
I'm
out
really
there.
not sure you're a true individual. Yaffa, I'm just guessing you are, but you might be some sort of cyborg or alien or whatever. But I think it's still fun times to basically be. Like, what's the alternative, right? This is where things are going, and you just need to be very
Embrace it. You gotta
optimistic about
embrace
it.
it. You gotta, I try not to be afraid. I'm trying to embrace it. I'm really learning as much as I can, and let's see what happens.
What's your goals? You have any, or are you like a Taoist, which is basically just like more focusing on the present moment and where the wind will take you
I'm
and
very
grasp
much.
you?
I have goals.
Oh, you do
I'm
have
very
goals.
specific, and I'm also very, I am both I'm money oriented, but I'm also more oriented in like what can I do? What is my output? How many clients do I want? Where do I want my clients to be? In what realms do I want my clients in? So I'm not going to give away all my goals, but I have specific goals of
Right.
what I want to hit and when I want to hit them.
Do you
And,
write them out
I'm
like somewhere,
focused.
or
Yeah.
do you write
Yeah.
on like Notion or like on hand to paper?
In my journal that I write late at night next to my bed.
Late at night next to your bed.
Yeah.
How late
My
at night?
dream journal.
Oh,
My dream journal.
you do.
I used to have a dream journal because
Does
I have
it work?
wacky. It was
Like,
just fun to write my
Did
dreams.
you find, because I heard that's the way you get into lucid dreaming and being able to control the dreams. Recently, I've had such very aggressive and assertive dreams where I was in the dream and I knew that I was dreaming and I tried to play around with it, and it was quite interesting.
Could you play around in the dream?
I mean, I had a dream that Mike Tyson wanted to have sex with me, and I'm not into that.
It's so scary.
I mean, that's a nightmare. And I'm not into those type of stuff. I'm attracted to the female counterparts of our nation and world and universe. And I remember in the dream running away from Mike Tyson and using two things in the dream. One, I was using the speed of my legs to basically run up the stairs, and he was kind of going after me. And then the second thing, I was trying to use my intellectual capabilities to convince him not to rape me. And I did that with care and with carefulness, and we tried to articulate him that there's better options for him in some other place.
Choices.
In the end of that dream, I woke up. I was sweating, but I was hopeful for a better future.
I think this is the basis of your next post, your next meeting.
I actually wrote it, and then I sent it to my mom for review, and she told me, "Oh, my, I don't know if I would publish that." And she's very liberal, so if she told me that,
Okay, it's good that you have a censor. It's good that you have a
Yes.
censor. We all need one.
I actually don't, but I have other people
Other
who do
people,
have
right,
censors.
right.
Maybe you can review my work.
How much are you gonna listen? Because it comes at a cost.
Right, I would pay you for editing.
Not stum. We're cutting up.
Why do you say stum?
I don't know.
It's like
I think it's a nervous tick.
it's
you
a
know?
nervous tick.
You
You
know,
don't have to.
up my Brintilex, perhaps.
I mean, you don't have like you can be very like your words have meaning and they're not stum.
Thank you.
Remember that.
will.
Put it in your bed above
In
your
my dream journal.
Yes, you can put it there. Yes. Yaffa, you've been a wonderful guest. It was a wonderful session. People can visit you on LinkedIn and
Visit me on
Instagram.
LinkedIn.
Although your Instagram is wild and furry.
Don't visit my Instagram. Visit my LinkedIn. That's where. That's what matters.
So you don't approve
To the
everyone on your
audience.
Instagram. It's
No,
very-
that is my personal. If we're friends, if I like your vibe, fine. But please don't follow me on Instagram.
LinkedIn it is. LinkedIn.
Not that there's anything wrong with it. Just if we're friends, follow me on Instagram. If we're professional peers, follow me on LinkedIn.
Shout outs to people. You have some shout outs you want to shout out
Ooh.
with intention and clarity?
I was actually thinking before I came here recently, who are my mentors and who really helped me get to
Who?
the place that I am. My mentors in like professionally.
Right.
Besides, for my husband who gave me a lot of the confidence. But I think from, F2 where two of the partners, all the partners are great, but I work very closely with my OR, who's a general partner who really gave me confidence, as well as Noah Matz, who was she's super interesting. She's a startup psychologist and was an
Really?
operating partner.
Startup psychologist.
You should get her on this podcast.
Can you do the intro?
100%.
Warm and fuzzy.
100%. She's a huge mentor to me and gave me the push. And then Freda, another partner, was a partner at Pico, and then Lior Krenkel. So those four have been hugely influential to me, and shout out to you guys.
Love it. And I want to shout out to Matthias, who we mentioned in this conversation.
Matthias.
Clarity, his new startup, man, making some serious fucking noise out there, let me tell you. And I think they have their product market fit is insane. Like what they do is basically differentiate between AI content and real content.
Right now,
isn't that like a genius move?
Crazy.
Why didn't I think about this startup? Why didn't I have the clarity to make a startup called Clarity? May I ask you? But I might buy equity in that startup, Michael, and I'm coming for you with grace and happiness and love and beauty. Yaffa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
You are fun.
So are you.
We'll do this again. You asshole. We'll do this again sometime.
Awesome.
Maybe we should do a show together. I think like the chemistry is on point. Right? Like
let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. And vote for it on the show. 2 thumbs up if you want to see this show together. We'll talk about lots of juicy stuff.
And cuts?
And thank you.